From the Studio 13 Studios in Splendora, Texas, Hank's Think Tank is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cam's rolling.
And 3, 2.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Hank's Think Tank. It is the weekend. The end of the weekend, but the weekend regardless. I have Greg Partin in today, and he is a Roman Forest City Councilman. Now, he didn't draw an opponent this time around, but he still wanted to come in and talk a little bit about what's going on, and I commend him for that. So it's important to have, good discussions with the guys that run city government. And Greg is one of those guys that he's transparent, he's willing to talk. So when he asked me, I said, yeah, let's do it. So here we are, and welcome aboard, Greg. How you doing today?
Glad to be here. Thanks.
Fantastic. So how long have you been on city council? It's been a while now.
So I've done, so I started in 2016. There was a vacancy. Tony Garza's position, he had to vacate, and Mayor asked me to fill in for about 9 months. So I think I started in April 2016, and then I served through the end of that year. And then
Okay.
I didn't serve in 2017, and then so I ran for my first year in 2018. So I've been on council since 2018.
Wow. So what was it like running after you had already sat in that position? That had to be weird, huh?
Well, it ended up being a different position. We had one of our councilmen decided to not run
Okay.
in 2018. I put my name in his position, and nobody else put their name there. So,
Okay, so you ran unchallenged. Well, that's
this will
good.
be my fourth term, and I've been unchallenged each time so far.
That's pretty good.
Which is So
Yeah.
I've not had to go out on the campaign trail, like
Yeah.
some of the other positions, but yeah. So this will be fourth year. So I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
It's been a interesting journey.
Oh, I
So,
bet it has.
yeah.
So I know that you've championed a few things too. So you've been responsible for writing some of the ordinances and some of the legislation, I guess you could call it, that the city uses. You want to talk about any of those? I know that, what was it, driveways and culverts was one.
Driveways and culverts. Yeah, in 2016, the city did the CO for the roads and drainage. So that was actually a little stint that I did on council. I was involved with that. Part of the going forward from that is the city realized there was some ordinances dealing with drainage and driveways and culverts that needed to be updated. There was a lot of ordinances that were created back in the when they first built Roman Forest.
Yeah,
So
which was a
late-
long time ago.
Late 60s.
Yeah, late 60s, early 70s.
So
yeah.
we took the opportunity to go through. I was working with the city administrator. She would say, hey, let's look at drainage, or let's look at driveways and culverts, and just we started going through the ordinances that needed updating and trying to update the verbiage, with to better cover what we're doing today.
Right.
And so, driveways and culverts was one, and the drainage and the maintenance of our ditches. I think that was 3 different ordinances I was involved with.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and all of those kind of point to drainage, which is really important.
it
Yeah.
is. I think we've had some flood events that have emphasized that point.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately.
I think it's best, and each resident looks out, for their residents upstream by keeping their culverts clean and ditches, free of any debris or limbs or whatnot that can build up over time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it really doesn't take that much, believe it or not. It doesn't take that much to stop up a culvert or a drain.
leaves are the worst.
Oh, yeah.
If we get a big rain in the fall, you can go down to the park, and you can see the leaves are rippled, through through the park.
Yeah.
They can clog up a drain in a hurry.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things we have to be mindful of each
Mm-hmm.
fall is try to help keep our neighbors
Yeah.
safe.
The drainage project was pretty aggressive. I mean, I really got to commend you guys for that, because it's hard to take on a project of that caliber and see it through all the way. And then to back it up with the culverts ordinance and the driveway ordinance was just smart. That's just protecting the investment and taking it the extra mile. So, yeah, that's the way to go.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see what the effects are once we have a serious test, But then you've also got everything that's happened around you, because Roman Forest is kind of a pass-through area for a lot of water because of the creek right there.
It is a lot.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out.
A lot of the drainage is either through the city or towards the city,
Mm-hmm.
depending on which side of the creek you're on. That creek is the creek needs to be desnagged for sure.
Yeah, it really
I
does.
think that'd be a good thing, for the county to do, and hopefully we'll move that water down to Lake Houston a little faster.
There you go. And I'm pretty sure that whole desnag process is in the works. I don't know when it's actually supposed to kick off, but yeah, I think that's going to be something that's going to be addressed pretty soon.
Yeah.
So I know drainage is like one of the main things on Matt Gray's schedule, and something he thinks about all the time. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to just moving forward in that aspect.
Yep.
So, where ordinance are concerned in Roman Forest, how do you feel about the way things are right now? Do you think that the process needs to be streamlined? There's just been some questions about that. And so do you think there's any way that the way that permitting and things like that are put together could be streamlined and kind of worked out?
Yeah, so the ordinances and the permitting and the inspections and all of those things are in place to do a couple of things and ultimately protect your property values. You want to make sure that there's a aesthetically a good, pleasing look and feel to the city.
Right. Yeah, and with some continuity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you want, if you want to maintain your home value, you're going to do improvements over time, whether that's a new driveway or you're putting an addition on your house for a porch, or you're putting in a swimming pool, or
fencing.
You're going to use a contractor to do those type activities, and not every contractor is going to be on the up and up, and we can't be experts on everything. So especially when it comes to safety items, I think it's important that we make sure it's done right. That there's a standard, a building code that's to be followed, which we have in place, and then you have a inspection of that work to make sure that it was done correctly.
Right. And
I think it's a good fail-safe to have. Ordinances in general, there's a lot of ordinances that don't require any kind of inspection or permitting. They're just there to really keep the home values protected, right?
Okay.
But yeah, the permitting process, we do hear some complaining about. We've been evaluating the permits and what we can change to maybe make it a little simpler, maybe not require permits for things that aren't specifically safety related. Give homeowners a choice. If for example, if you're pouring a concrete pad for a picnic table, do you really need a permit for that? Or is that something you could trust the contractor to do the job right? And if it's not right, there's really no big impact other than to the value of your own home. So we could put the ball in the homeowner's court to decide if they want to have, something like that inspected and go from there, right?
Yeah, so, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So I think that's something we'll be doing in the coming coming months is evaluating that list of permitted, inspected items and seeing if we can rate those as, mandatory or optional or not required.
Right. And, really, I think it's a necessary evil, because it's something that not everybody likes and a lot of people don't, but it does have to happen. And, as a standard of living in the whole of Montgomery County, especially in East Montgomery County, we're getting to the point now to where things are being done better. And the citizens that are moving in here require things to be done better. And anytime you get to that point, it's going to take a permitting process. So I'm seeing a lot of things that are happening within the county that used to not require permits that are now requiring permits. And even though it's something that not everybody's happy about, I think it's the right way to go. Because you're right, it does protect people, it protects property, it protects your neighbors, and it just makes for an easier, better way to live and make things go. It costs a couple extra bucks, but what the heck? If you're getting it done right, you're getting it done right.
And what you don't want is, if it's something big, say like a pool or an addition to your house, you don't want to go down the road 20 years from now and then put your house on the market and an inspector comes out and says,
sorry,
this was the electrical was done incorrectly. You're going to have to redo it.
Yeah.
Right.
And there are stories of those that, they're endless, there's plenty of them.
Yeah. So it's not always a good thing to cut those corners.
Yeah.
So,
that's for sure.
It could catch up to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So anything else that you've done during your time there that you think was just something that needed to happen and you're glad it did and it made Roman Forest a better place?
A couple of examples that were actually initiated by residents. I had a resident come to me and say, hey, I've got a neighbor that listens to music all hours of the night. It's a deep reverberating bass.
Okay. Sub bass. Right.
So it's not really loud out at the street, but it's rattling my walls in my bedroom and I can't sleep. Right. So on that one, did some, investigating of what are other cities doing. Anytime I go to look at an ordinance, I go look at the big cities, Houston and, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Austin. What are they doing?
Yeah.
Doesn't always apply to us because we're much smaller. But then I scale back and try to look at other cities our size. But in this case, Houston had just did a noise ordinance that specifically addressed that bass reverberation.
Yeah, sub bass.
And so
everything below 500 hertz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went through and we had a noise ordinance. It was pretty limited because it was from the late 60s. And so updated that, got it to what we thought was good, and had the lawyer look at it, and we passed that, and now we're able to at least address any issues that neighbors might be causing somebody, right?
And that's good. Yeah, nobody needs that.
Yeah, and it applies to, sometimes it applies to something as simple as somebody starting construction too early in the morning. There's times now in the ordinance that say, what's quiet times, if you will. Right. So you don't want somebody out there running a jackhammer at 5 a.m.
Yeah, or 10 p.m.
Or 10 p.m.
on a Sunday night when you got to go to work the next day.
Yeah. So that was one example of an ordinance that a resident had initiated. I had another one, where there was a resident that had too many animals, and so we started looking at what makes sense from an animal ordinance perspective, and our ordinance was kind of all over the board. It was it was bits and pieces in like 4 or 5 different ordinances, but there wasn't an animal control ordinance.
Okay.
So same thing. Started by looking at the big cities. Started looking at the smaller cities, and on this one, I looked at dozens of ordinances to try to get a feel for, what other municipalities are doing, and because you don't really want to do anything that's too far outside of the norm, right? So we put together an animal ordinance, and lots of discussions with the residents. It was a fiery topic for some.
Oh, I bet it can be, yeah.
And because of some of those discussions, we put some exceptions in for rescues and breeders and ultimately I think we came up with an ordinance that serves the residents well. The resident that originally came to me was complaining of too many animals, and they were actually causing damage to his vehicles. Fights on top of the
Wow.
of the hoods and scratching everything up, and ultimately that got resolved.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm hoping something will be instituted countywide on that deal too. And the reason why is because, like, out here in Splendora, if you want to go for a good long walk, there's chances are you're going to encounter a mean dog somewhere that's not behind a fence or not in some way, corralled, and that can be really tough to deal with because you're not really sure what to do in some of those cases. And some of those dogs are big, man.
That was one of the things we did address in the ordinance was the leash law, for lack of a better term.
That's cool.
The other thing that we did that I think was a big plus was that we also looked out for the animals themselves. Put verbiage in there specifically around the care and feeding.
That's good. That's important.
Tying an animal to a tree in the middle of the summer, it's not a good thing. And so we tried to look to see what was fair for animal owners, but what was also fair for the animals. And
I just don't think animals should ever be tied up or chained. It's not a prisoner; it's a pet.
Yes,
So
we did put that verbiage in.
I get freaked out about that.
You can't have a chained animal in the city of Roman Forest.
That's good.
So you've got to provide adequate shelter and water and food
fresh water, food. That's good.
So
okay.
So that was probably the largest of the ordinances that I worked on. And there's been several others that were just smaller, where we just needed some updating, right? Parking, and some going back to the roads and the drainage. We did one for heavy vehicles. We did some for parking, just to address specific issues that we were having in the city. So that's something I've enjoyed doing.
Okay.
As a councilman, anytime there's a need for an ordinance, I enjoy doing the research and trying to come up with something before we hand it off to the legal team to put their stamp on it. So
that's good too, because you're ensuring the future of Roman Forest, by doing things like that. And just stabilizing and making sure that property values stay good and you continue to maintain the type of living atmosphere that Roman Forest has pretty much always had. So that's a good thing. Yeah,
it's one of the things I say about our city. People move there because it's a safe place to be. With our police department, it looks good when you drive around and you look. Yards are maintained, houses are maintained.
I was telling somebody, and I don't remember who it was. Roman Forest seems like it's the only kind of master plan community in the area before Tavola, of course. I still just don't even think of Tavola very often, but the way the roads were laid out and all that, it was actually well thought out for it happening when it happened.
It was. It was one of the early that would have preceded the Woodlands.
Which kind of an extension of Kingwood, I think, too, wasn't it?
Kingwood's.
Yeah.
If I understand, I'm not from here originally. I was born and raised over in Baytown.
Okay.
So I moved up here 12 years ago. But my understanding is that Kingwood and Roman Forest were kind of built at the same time, and they were to be twin cities. But Roman Forest still just a little bit far out at the time. and didn't develop as much as Kingwood. But I think that same forethought was there, which was good for us. So
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a good little community. All right, so the park, and I've had to talk about the park with pretty much every candidate.
Park is
So, and I like Roman Forest Park. I've been there. I've done some work there. I've always thought it was cool. I haven't walked through and made any real inspections on any of the gear there, and the swings and any of the child things and all that. But from a distance, it looks pretty good. So, I can't believe the park has become such a big topic. But what do you think is the deal, and how can we resolve it?
Yeah, so the park is, for me, it's my near and dear number one issue. I know there's a lot of issues in the city, but the park is high on my importance list, and it has been since I've gotten on council. I live close to the park. I walk through the park a couple times a week. I just walked through it yesterday.
Okay.
I take my dog, walk down to the creek, and so I try to walk through and pick up any trash or look at everything, and as our city administrator knows, I will text him if I see something that doesn't look just right. It's important to me because it's a safe place for families to take their kids. And my personal perspective, I don't care if they live in Roman Forest or anywhere in East Montgomery County, right? That it's a place that people come. They can barbecue if they want with the barbecue pits. You play on the playground. They can go down to the creek and play in the water, roll down the hill. You can reserve the pavilion and have a birthday party. That's a big thing.
The pool, the splash pad.
The pool and the splash pad.
Yeah.
So I was part of the splash pad, bringing that in.
That's a big deal.
With MSED.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the splash pad has been our best enhancement over the last 10 years. Over the years, I've gotten many requests from residents. We want to see a specific piece of equipment, and so I've attempted a couple of times to get grants from NSED. They do some $5,000 grants, but the issue is $5,000 doesn't go very far when it comes to park equipment. I was shocked at how much park equipment costs.
Oh yeah, expensive stuff.
It's
astronomical.
You need a lot of money.
Yeah,
and so unfortunately for Roman Forest, it's not always in the budget. And I push every year to let's get money in the budget and do something. If you just buy one piece of equipment every year, but it seems like we've been losing equipment faster than we've been adding it in recent years. You have to keep an eye on it and maintain it and make sure it's safe for the kids. If it gets to the point where it's not safe, it's got to be removed, right? So that's near and dear to my heart. I want to put in some really nice park equipment. I believe we'll be having to partner with MSED to do that. But that's one for me. The second one would be Hubbard Park. So Hubbard Park was donated years ago. It was a park for a while. It got used as a
I still think Hubbard Park is funny because I didn't know it existed until like a week ago.
And I saw that on that video, and I thought that's actually that's the disappointing thing to me.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, I'm a believer that we need safe places for our children to go play. I grew up playing in football in the streets.
Me
dodging
too.
cars, and
Yeah.
They put in a school down the road with a big park, and we were able to go down there and play, and it just made all the difference in the world, right? So, I think it's important that we get parks there for our.
So does Hubbard Park have stuff? Does it have swings and all that kind of stuff there?
No, there's a couple things have happened there that it was used for other purposes that were it looked like the good decision at the time, but probably we shouldn't have done, right?
Okay.
So it needs some work. and it's going to take some money. There's been some fundraising efforts, to make that a better green space. There's been discussions about a dog park. There's been discussions about, let's start with a walking trail and some park benches and expand from there. Maybe get some pieces of equipment over time. Every budget season, as we just finished budget season, and we talk about Hubbard Park.
Yeah.
I think it's something that the city needs to address as a priority. It was a park or property donated to the city for the purpose of a park. We need to make it a park and let the people utilize it. So, and then the third park item on my list is the new development.
Section 4.
Section 4.
Okay.
So I multiple discussions with the developer that I wanted a park. I still don't have a park. And it's disappointing.
Is there room for one? Is there some land that they could?
There are some reserves.
Okay.
So as you mentioned, master plan communities. So Roman Forest was carved up into lots, and there's restricted lots and unrestricted lots, and then there's reserve lots.
Okay.
So those reserve lots are a lot of times they're a parcel of land that's cut off because you've got land or houses all the way around it, but it's stuck in the middle, right?
Right.
So we were looking at a couple of those with the developer, and it's like I told him, we don't have to have a lot. Just let's put something in there so that the kids can have a place to go play, throw a football around, maybe put a basketball goal, something.
Right.
And so continuing to work on that with the developers. There's several reserve lots back there that could potentially be parks. And I think, with all that development, a lot of the younger families, the park's a long way from them.
Yeah, and I think that the developer would probably want that just because it adds to their amenities.
It does.
It makes it easier for them to sell homes there.
Yeah, and I wish we would have put them in right from the beginning. I think the focus was, we had to do roads, we had to do electrical, there was other utilities
infrastructure
that had
out
to
the
be put
wazoo.
in.
Yeah.
So parks took a back seat, but now here we are. We got folks living there, and there's no park. So that's high on my list, and I think, going forward, working with a developer and working with agencies that do grants, whether that's Entergy or MSED or whomever, that's kind of the path we have to go, is write those grants, and keep pushing to get those parks put in.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys are doing an amazing job. I mean, I really do. So, and I'm a big believer, and a lot of people even question me on a regular basis. How come you say that what happens in Roman Forest affects Splendora and places like that? But it really does. What you guys do make a big effect on what happens in Splendora and the other surrounding communities. And so I think that when you have good government, smart government, it makes a big difference. And it makes places like Splendora want to do better. And so when all of the communities are working together to do better, what happens? We end up in a better situation.
We do. I think our new city administrator is actually trying to even take that further by doing more coordination with.
He's an awesome guy.
He is. He's very, very, very good at what he does, and he's doing things that we haven't done, and trying to build those relationships with other municipalities, and he thinks outside the box, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've got some good people in place.
There are good people in the city. It's very well run. From administration side, and from the police side, we've got one of the safest cities in the Houston area.
Right.
Chief does a great job of keeping us safe, and we've got great mayor, great council. For for a volunteer, there's no politicians at Roman Forest.
Right.
We're all residents that just rolled up our sleeves and said, you know what, I'll help. What can I do?
Yeah.
And we've got some really good people that
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, and a lot of people forget this, I think, when they start getting angry at the city or they start getting angry at policy, what they need to realize is none of you guys get paid. I mean, you're spending a lot of time away from your families, away from things that you want to do, and you're doing research and you're trying to do what's best for the community that you live in. Not always perfect, but y'all do what you can. And I do have a lot of respect for people who stick their neck out and decide to sit on a council somewhere or sit on a board somewhere and try to make a difference, especially for no monetary result. I mean, that's a good thing. So
yeah, because again, you're just a resident trying to do what's best for the city, and you hope you make the right decisions, the right choices, and provide the right governance.
There you go. Well, the look and feel of city council is going to be changing after this election. And I think it could probably be a pretty good thing. You'll get some fresh eyes and maybe some people who are willing to come and make some good evaluations and just help you guys move forward.
Yes, I think it's a good thing to have new folks come in and get a different perspective, some different ideas, some new energy.
Yeah.
It's a great learning experience to go through and learn how the city operates.
Right.
There's a lot of misconceptions out there about how things really work.
Oh, yeah.
You see things on Facebook. And unfortunately, we're not always at the liberty to go out there and correct people that have the wrong perception.
Yeah.
Right. But the city operates in a certain manner, and there's certain laws and legal hurdles that you have to work with, and learning all of that is it's intriguing to me. It's been fun from that perspective to learn how the city works, and then if you can latch onto something and make it an improvement, then it's the effort's worthwhile. The time. It's a good thing. Yeah,
and you've made your mark. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make? I know you're not vying for votes this time, so
I am not. I'll do. I'll serve for another 2 years, and again, I'll be pushing on parks. We'll be looking at drainage. I'm always big on looking at budget, making sure the city's spending money properly, right?
Okay.
And I'm always open to hear ideas from residents. So email address is gpartin at rftx.org. Always open to hear your ideas. You can always come to a council meeting, which I encourage everyone to come to council meetings. Learn what your city's doing, how it operates. Voice your opinions, and let us know your thoughts. We don't always experience what every resident's experiencing, especially with the news section in the back. So we need to hear if there's a problem that needs addressed. We need to hear about it. Sometimes we can address it. Sometimes it's another agency that has to address it. But at least bring it to our attention so it's on our radar and we can do what we can do. Right.
So. There you go. All right. Well, Greg Partin, I appreciate you coming in. I had a good conversation. And, I always learn a little bit when I do these things. And so I learned a little bit today.
I appreciate your passion for it.
Thanks. Yeah, it's all about the community.
Yes.
I got to be able to do something. So I vote, and I try my best to educate other voters. That's about all I can really do.
That's what I appreciate.
So,
you're informing people and helping people make an informed vote, which is a good thing.
There you go. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Greg Partin. He's been on council for a while, going to be here for another 2 years. And he's a transparent individual, and he wants you to come and talk to him. So if you've got questions or concerns, let them know. I mean, that way you can get things done in Roman Forest. If you've got something you need had done, give them a call. They'll talk to you. They'll answer. So there you go. I am Hank Vatt. This is Hank's Think Tank, and we'll see you in the next one.